What's happening, YouTube? Cowboy here, and this is going to be the first episode of a series where I go through each of the Lords and Lords of the Fallen and show you a strategy and how to beat each boss. I'm going to be discussing the strengths and weaknesses of each boss, their attack patterns. I'm going to demonstrate how to beat them with ease, regardless of what class you pick. Now, the first boss up is, of course, the first Warden. This is the very first enemy that you're going to encounter, or very first Lord, I should say, and he has a relatively simple attack pattern that can be easily exploited. The Warden has three primary attacks you're going to look out for. The first being a 4-swing combo, which we'll see pretty much as soon as the fight starts. The second is his shield charge, which he does right at the beginning to knock you down. And the third is a charge-up attack, which he does right there, that can one-shot you. Now, as you'll notice, looking at the health bar, he has three different ticks at a 75, 50%, and 25% increments. As you hit each of these tick marks, he will begin to rip off additional pieces of his armor until eventually, when you're at the 25% mark, where he'll disregard his armor entirely, throw away his shield, two-hand his blade, and attempt to kill you. Now, the biggest thing in fighting the first Warden is, of course, circling over to the left to avoid the shield breaks, watching out for the 4-hit combo, which he's doing right here, which can be blocked or rolled through, and additionally, watching out for the big sword slam, which he'll do right now, which can one-shot you. Now, it can be dodged relatively easily by going to the right or the left, and an important thing to note about that attack is that is the main opening where you can get in damage against the first Warden. When he does do that ability, he leaves himself exposed, and you can get in right now and begin to do a good chunk of damage on him. Now, as for augmenting your damage, if you're doing a warrior style of play, I would suggest popping Rage when you see him charging that up and then going in and doing your damage. With a solid style play, it's obviously defensive, but still the time when you're going to want to do damage. And if you're playing through with the Deception tree, Mimic will come in especially handy here to help get damage out. So with that being said, we are now going to focus on just going through and killing the boss, and we'll see exactly how fast we can take him out. So he's going to do his 4th-hit combo here. We're going to pop Rage. We, of course, are going to take a minor hit, which is fine because we're in heavy armor. And we're trying to wait for him to do his big attack so that we can really get through the damage. So we rolled through. We can see he's left exposed, trying to pick up his sword. And this is when we can get in the real damage and begin to just blow through that health pool of his. He's going to do a sword thrust right there, since we knocked through the first portion of his health. He's going to do his shield slam again. We're going to put up Rage and try to bait the big sword slam. There it is. And rolling into it, we can see that it did still hit us, but the damage was minimal. Obviously, if that hits you outright, it's going to hurt quite a bit, and it's not going to be good. You're going to lose, pretty much as I mentioned, it's basically a one-shot if it gets a straight connection on you. Now, with the two-handed style of play, you can, of course, pretty much just bash your way through him, and especially when you're right up on top of him, it allows you to avoid that attack, as you just saw. We're basically just beating through him before he can even get off his phases. Now, obviously, with a rogue style of play, you're going to have much lighter armor, so keep that in mind. You won't be able to just rage through him as we are here with a two-handed weapon and heavy armor. Of course, when he does his big attack, he is still going to be open, and that is going to be the primary time that you can get in damage. And even though you're going to be wearing lighter armor and you're going to have weaker weapons, with Mimic up, you can still put out extremely high DPS, allowing you to burst him down just as effectively right there. So all in all, that is the first Warden. As I mentioned, this series is going to go through each of the Lords that you can fight in the game. And, like we just showed here, we're going to discuss the different mechanics in the fight, the different strategies you can use to beat the boss, strengths, weaknesses, all that stuff. So either way, first Warden on New Game Plus is defeated. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and make sure to tune in for more Lords of the Fallen strategy kills.